So a local fire department came to me asking to build them a window prop with a Denver prop attachment. Since they already do have a window prop, I'll be lowering the actual height of the wall, and we won't have to put the Denver prop on stilts. My design was inspired by Dale G. PEKEL on YouTube. I'll link his video in the description below. So a little bit of a change up from his design, but basically the same idea. So there's not really any videos on how to make one or how to put it together, so I'll be including some measurements in my video, as well as some methods to put it together. First up, I'm going to lay down these two 2x4s so I don't cut my driveway up, and I'm cutting the 3/4 inch plywood. The walls are made of 5/8 inch plywood and the floor is made of 3/4, so I'm cutting up the floor first at 36 1/4 inches. That will leave us enough room for a 28 inch hallway for the Denver prop. Once it's cut up with the track saw, I can start attaching the 2x4 framing.
Now that the sides are attached, we can cut our 4 center supports at 33 inches each. Since our floor is 8 feet long, we can space it apart in increments of 32 inches. Both of our center supports will fall at the 32 and 64 inch mark.
So for this project I'll be using 3 different types of screws. Using nails is perfectly fine, but I prefer screws. I'm using a 3 inch to connect the 2x4s together. I'm using an 1 5/8 for the 3/4 inch sheathing, and I'm using an 1 1/4 for the 5/8 sheathing. These screws you can get at Home Depot. They're construction screws. They're much stronger than sheetrock screws. They even have a pre-drilling tip as to not split the wood, and they have these ridges here that actually help countersink the screw into the wood. Uses a T25 Torx, which is much better than a Phillips head in my opinion. Now an easy way to find our supports is simply stretch a tape measure and go to the 32 and 64 inch marks. That's where your evenly divided support should be. The construction and assembly of the first piece of the Denver prop is now complete. Now it's time to move on to the walls. So for the walls on the Denver prop, the process is pretty much the same, except our sheets of plywood are now full sheets at 4 foot by 8 foot. And the center supporting studs are 45 inches in height. Once we have the top and bottom plate installed, we can go ahead and install the 45 inch studs. Now that our 2x4 framing is secured with 3 inch screws, we can move on to fastening down the 5/8 inch sheathing. Once the first wall is complete, follow the same steps to create the second wall. At this point, our Denver prop is complete. You can either screw it together right now and have it as a permanent structure, or we're going to use bolts and wing nuts so we can take this apart and easily store it. So I'm going to temporarily put some screws into the wall so it doesn't fall over while I'm marking it out. To secure the walls to the floor, I'm going to be using 3/8 inch bolts that are 4 inches long with a washer on each side and an optional wing nut to make assembly and disassembly much faster. In laying out these 4 bolts, we're just going to want to evenly space the 4 out along the wall. When drilling your holes, remember to keep it a perfect 90-degree angle from the plate. Also, you want to space it away from the wall, but away from the bottom 2x4 support so you have enough room for this washer on the left side and the right side here. Next, we're just going to repeat the process for the other side. Before we flip the prop over to put the washers and the wing nuts on, I'm going to cut a 3-foot brace and attach it to the front of the Denver prop, adjacent to the wall prop. Before we drill the second hole, we want to make sure that our opening is remaining at 28 inches.
Once the Denver prop is tilted vertically, we can make sure that all the washers and wing nuts have space to move, as well as cranking them down, then completing our Denver prop.
Moving on to the wall portion, we can now take out our 2 5/8 inch sheets of plywood. We will then be shortening the overall length down to 80 3/4 inches. Keep in mind we can use the plywood as a reference to keep everything square. First, we're going to attach the top and bottom plate. Both will be cut to 4 feet exactly. and screwed in at the top and bottom of the plywood sheet. Next up, the 2 outer studs will be placed on the left and right of the sheet between the top and bottom plate. We want to attach our 2 king studs evenly spaced at 24 inches to allow for a 24-inch opening for our window on this wall prop. Next, we will sister up our jack stud to our king studs. This will act as a support for the sill. Next, we can attach the sill plate that will span the 24-inch opening to create a 24 by 33 window. We know that our Denver prop from the floor to the deck is 4 1/4 inches. So measuring the sill on our wall prop, we should have 42 inches plus that 4 1/4 inch, giving us 46 1/4 inch from the bottom plate to the sill plate on the wall prop. Instead of cutting this sheet of plywood down to the exact height of the wall, I just screwed it on. I'm going to use a flush trim bit in the router to get the best fit possible.
After cutting the top of the wall prop, use that same flush trim bit in the router to cut out the windows on both sides of the sheathing on the wall prop. After the dust and debris is cleaned up, you can go ahead and screw off the rest of the sheathing on both sides of the wall prop. I took an extra step and routed each and every sharp corner on the wall prop to avoid splintering.
Okay, so we have our wall leaned up here with our opening of 24 inches. The Denver prop itself has a hallway width of 28 inches, which is there. So we have to come 2 inches out this way, make a mark, 2 inches out this way, make a mark. This is where the inside walls of the Denver prop will lie, and the wall will be screwed and bolted to the right and left of those lines.
Next, we're going to lean up our wall against our Denver prop exactly where we drew our lines on the inner sides of the walls. To make drilling your holes a lot easier, for the 1/2 inch lag bolts that will secure the Denver prop to the wall prop, use 2 3-inch screws to secure both props together, making sure everything is properly aligned before drilling. Once your 1/2 inch holes are drilled, insert your 1/2 inch by 7-inch lag bolts and secure them to the props. Once your holes are drilled, drive the lag bolts through the holes with a mallet and tighten them on the other side. That sums up our construction of the Denver prop wall prop combo. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below or message me on Instagram at Rojas Carpentry. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.